Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, women and gentle germs. This is the one and only Griffin G. Child, and I want to thank you for tuning in to today's Moonkast. Today is December 17th, 2015. The Moonkast is brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the classic double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Child. That album will be coming out at a future date in 2016 to be announced. Don't have a release date on it yet, but one is forthcoming. Today, we're going to get to a couple of topics. We're going to talk about the team that everybody talks about. We'll start the show off with the Golden State Warriors. We're going to talk about Dwight Howard. We're also going to talk about some of the early trade rumors that are going on in the NBA as the deadline for teams to make moves from the offseason just came up. I believe it was on the 15th or the 16th. So a lot of contracts that were signed. Teams can start to make moves at this time of the year going into February near the trade deadline. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about around 2 or 3 of the new rookies coming in for next year's draft class for the 2016 NBA draft. We want to cover a couple of rookies coming in next season. So we're going to start the show off with the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors, they took their first loss over the weekend to the Milwaukee Bucks. They were banged up. They were missing Harrison Barnes and Klay Thompson. And so it was just a matter of time before teams were able to catch up to them. What I didn't like was I didn't like the celebration by the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, you want to end the streak, but it's not the championship. And so I believe that will come back to haunt them. As they did lose to the Lakers the very next game. So that's not the thing to do when you're talking about celebrating over winning a regular season game. Their expectations and aspirations should be higher than that. Moving forward, the Golden State Warriors, they bounced back beautifully. They played, like I said, Saturday night, and they had looks like 2 or 3 days off for rest, and they're back home on a homestand. And I believe the homestand does include the Cleveland Cavaliers on Christmas Day, which should be must-watch TV for any true fan of basketball. So Christmas Day, be sure to tune in for that Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors rematch. Even though it's not the finals, it will be good to see where Cleveland stands against the mighty Warriors right now. I am a LeBron fan, a Cleveland fan, being raised in Ohio. I did follow him to Miami at that time, but I always kept my eye on Cleveland and what they were doing. And I do believe that it was a blessing in disguise for LeBron James to leave Cleveland because they were able to draft well. They were able to pick up Kyrie Irving, they picked up Deion Waiters, they picked up Tristan Thompson, Anthony Bennett, and they also picked up Andrew Wiggins. So they were able to draft well. They did move Waiters, they did move Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, but by drafting those pieces, they were able to bring in a Kevin Love, Timothy Mozgov, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith. They were able to flip those pieces into veterans that could contribute and help the Cavaliers contend. And so I do believe it was a blessing in disguise. But I haven't given my analysis. I know the decision has been almost 5 years ago, but I haven't given my analysis on that. So we will save that for a future Moonkast. We don't know which one yet, but we will save that for a future Moonkast on just discussing that topic. Getting back to the subject at hand, that should be a great game on Christmas Day. There will be some other games lined up as well, and you best believe it, I will cover those Christmas games on a Moonkast following during that holiday break there. Talking about the Warriors last night, they were right back to where they started, looking like they haven't missed a beat. They clobbered the Phoenix Suns. put a nice smackdown on the Phoenix Suns with a score of 128 to 103. Klay Thompson went crazy, dropped 43 points. I believe he had a 26-point quarter, 27-point quarter. Just right back to business. Harrison Barnes is still out, so when they get him back, it's going to be major. It's going to be major when they get him back. Just right back to the same routine. Draymond Green is playing excellent. Draymond Green actually does a lot of the intangibles for this team, as a lot of experts can see. He is the epitome of the analytics movement. And that will also lead me to another topic. I'm going to write an article. That's right. It's going to be called the Scottie Pippen Effect. And that article will be posted soon. Don't have a date on that article yet, but we want to be talking about players like Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, Kawhi Leonard. We want to talk about players like that and how it relates to the great Scottie Pippen and his playing days. So that is another thing to stay tuned for, that article, when that article comes out. Once again, the Phoenix Suns got clobbered. I do like the Phoenix Suns. I do like a lot of the pieces that they have on the team. I do feel like they do need a dominant low post threat, which seems to be missing in today's game. Either power forward or center. I think you have to have a 20 and 10 guy off the block to compensate or balance out the 3-point shooting. I believe they have great guard play with Brandon Knight and Eric Bledsoe, and I do like Teletovic. I also like John Lure. I like the shooters. They have the shooters, but they need some low post play. They need to be able to slow the game down, dump it down, go to work, and then also kick out to the 3-point line. More like an inside-out game. I know it's a archaic or barbaric style to play. It doesn't work as much in today's game, but I believe that balance will kind of help take Phoenix to that next level. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to take a quick pause for station identification, and then I will be right back in just a few seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. All right, what's up with it? Back at you again, Griffin G. Chow coming back. Once again, this Moonkast is brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the classic double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Chow, coming soon in the new calendar year 2016 to be announced. But let's get right back to it. The next topic I like to discuss is going to be Dwight Howard. I'd like to talk about Dwight Howard for a quick second. He's just not the same player he used to be. It could be because of injury. Going back to his Orlando days, he was a great phenom coming out of high school in Atlanta. Great shot blocker, rebound defensive player. I just don't believe he has the body mechanics to be a great dominant offensive center. I just don't believe he has it. I feel he has already reached his ceiling, and this is as good as he's going to be. With the way his body is structured, he doesn't have the agility or the grace of a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like a Tim Duncan. You're talking about like a David Robinson, players of that stature. Just doesn't have the skillful movement or footwork to be a dominant offensive player that can go out and drop 30 and 15 on a consistent basis. So I believe the role for him is the third best player on a championship contending team. I believe there has to be 2 stars ahead of him. It's no disrespect to him at all, no disrespect to his game. He's a great defensive player, but I believe that needs to be his role going forward. And once you realize your potential and you learn to explore that potential within that capacity, I believe that could help the player become dominant in their own right, in their own way. So I've been hearing some trade rumors. Dwight Howard himself has denied the trade rumors. I've been hearing some Miami Heat trade rumors going for trading him for Hassan Whiteside, which will lead me into the next segment, which we're going to talk about some of the other NBA trade rumors. Dwight Howard's at the top of the trade rumor mill. Those are the rumors I'm hearing right now. I'm hearing Kevin Martin from the Minnesota Timberwolves is on the trading block. I'm also hearing Caron Butler from the Sacramento Kings would like to be traded. He doesn't like the amount of playing time that he's getting. I'm hearing Milwaukee Bucks are interested there. Biggest trade chip that could fall, the biggest domino that could fall, I'm hearing DeMarcus Cousins' name being floated around a lot. Of course, teams are just standing in line for him. I feel he's a very emotional big man, very passionate big man, and I do believe that he needs some veteran leadership guys above him. And that's kind of the problem, is he hasn't played on a team with a veteran that's better than him. I think that would benefit him a lot if he played on a team with another solid veteran that was actually better than him, and they could work together, channel that passion, really make a move as far as playoff contention. Sacramento on paper, they have some nice players in Rudy Gay. Rajon Rondo has had a great season. I know on the analytical side, his numbers don't turn into win shares, and so on that side, he's not having a great season when you look at the amount of wins. But I believe that sometimes the pieces just don't fit. And so, in my opinion, I believe a player like Rajon Rondo will be better suited, maybe with the Miami Heat. I have been a little disappointed in Goran Dragic. I really expected big things from him, especially after getting a $90 million contract. He doesn't seem to fit as well with Dwayne Wade as I would have liked. So I believe Rondo may fit better down there with Dwayne Wade, actually. That is something that I haven't heard. I haven't heard that being discussed, but that is something that I would like to see. That would be a pretty good trade right there. The rumor mill is kind of dry right now on the trades, mainly DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard. Those are some of the names that are being floated around, as I mentioned before, Caron Butler. As time goes on, I'll keep you updated on any rumors or anything that I do hear. And once any trade goes down, be sure that I will break it down and give you my expert analysis. So we're going to take another quick break for a Moonkast station identification, and I will be right back in just a few seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Griffin G-Chow coming back at you again. Once again, the Moonkast is brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the classic double LP from yours truly, Griffin G-Chow. That album does not have a release date yet, to be announced 2016, possibly January. Stay tuned. Stay tuned on that. You don't want to miss out on that. All right, moving right along here. We're going to get into some potential top 5 NBA draft picks for the 2016 NBA draft. I'm a diehard fan of the draft. Draft day is a huge day for me. I love the draft. I've been watching the draft live, let's say, early 1990s, the early 90s. I love the draft. I study the draft. I always like to see who's coming, who's the next big thing. So we have 5 potential top 5 picks we're going to discuss today. And in future podcasts, we will dive into a few more college players as the season progresses. The NBA introduced the one and done rule, which it's good and bad. Some players aren't good enough to come out, and some players are good enough to come out. If you look at the 2015 rookie draft class, a lot of these guys that stayed 1 year, they are playing really well and actually contributing. When you look at Karl Anthony Towns, Emmanuel Mudiay, who actually went to China for a year, he's playing well. D'Angelo Russell, he's getting time here and there for the Lakers. The Lakers situation is a little different. They're trying to mix old veteran players with new players. You look at Kristaps Porzingis playing very well. You look at Justice Winslow. two-way player playing well for the Miami Heat in a bench role. And Jahlil Okafor, who's actually one of my favorite young guys. I'm a big fan of Jahlil Okafor. Like I said, as he matures, a lot of the off-the-court things, those things will go away. So I'm not throwing the towel in on him. I love his game. I love the back-to-the-basket game. So you have a lot of rookies that spent 1 year that are actually doing fairly well. I would like to see players be able to come out from high school again. And if you don't come out of high school, stay 2 years. I would also like to see the NBDL, which is the National Basketball Development League. I'd like to see that league with a more expanded role. I would like to see all 30 teams have their own development league squad, where you have 15 guys on the pro roster and you have another 15 on the development roster, where a guy can come out of high school, and just because he comes out of high school, just send him to the D League. Let him sit there on your roster for 2 years. If you think he has the potential to be an NBA player in 2 years, let him sit on your D League roster, and then call him up when you think he's ready. So I feel like there are a lot of things that need to be done to enhance that experience. Of course, for every like Karl Anthony Towns, there are a lot of guys that aren't ready to really play at this level, physically and maturity wise. Some guys just aren't ready to play at this level. And of course, college basketball was 10 times better, 100 times better in the 1980s and toward the early 90s to mid 90s is where you started to see it tail off, because guys started coming out early. So the college game is nowhere near the level it used to be quality wise. And as far as being fundamentally sound, a lot of players that are coming out, they aren't fundamentally sound as in the past. But I do believe, and when you're talking about a youngster, not all youngsters, but you have some youngsters that are born into poverty and really need to help their families succeed, and they have a gift to help their families succeed. I mean, you have to go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so I would like to see the developmental league step up as far as salary. I've heard that the guys don't get paid as much. I'd like to see those guys be able to get paid better. And I'd like to see that league really form better and work hand in hand with the NCAA. I'd also like to see a player that could get drafted, that player get drafted, and let that player still go to college. You could draft them and let them go to college. That goes into another rule as far as college players getting paid. I mean, this is a huge subject here. We could talk about this for days and days. I do believe the players should be compensated in some way, not millions and millions of dollars, but compensated enough to where the parents can actually see the children play on road trips, as well as making sure the children have money, or the kids rather, making sure that the kids have money to stay afloat while they're in college and learning. So with all that being said, we're going to get into the top 5 potential or projected top 5 picks. We're going to talk about some of the guys that I like in this top 5. So we're going to start off with a player named Jamal Murray. He plays for the University of Kentucky, the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm a big fan of his game. He is a combo guard. He played very well this summer in the Pan Am games against grown men, against veteran competition. He's playing for Kentucky right now. He's looking very good right now. About 6'4", 205 pounds. I believe he can be a good combo guard, two-way player coming into the league. We're going to get into, you look at another player named Jalen Brown, who's playing for the University of California out in Berkeley. 6'7", 225 guy. He's the prototypical two-way player. We look at Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, and even in last year's draft, Stanley Johnson. He's a two-way player, already has an NBA body with the 225 pounds. He's a guy, of course, a lot of youngsters have to work on their shooting ability. He's also playing on a team that could make a serious run. In the NCAA tournament. Keep your eye on him and where he lands. You also have another player named Ivan Rabb. He is a 6'10", 220-pound player, also playing for the University of California, Jason Kidd's alma mater. He's a guy with a 7'1" wingspan, can run the floor, hasn't developed a complete game yet. As most kids at that age, they're just running the floor. So he's another guy to look out for. As I said, that California squad, they could make some noise. So you do want to keep your eye on a lot of these guys coming out this year. We have 2 more picks to discuss, but we're going to take another pause for station identification, and we will be right back in just a few seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonkast Radio. Greetings, we are back. Once again, the Moonkast is brought to you today by Moonkast Chronicles, the double LP from yours truly, Griffin G. Child, release date to be announced early 2016. All right, so getting back to the top picks in the NBA draft. I have a few numbers to throw out there for you. I talked about Ivan Rabb, I talked about Jamal Murray, and I talked about Jalen Brown. Let's go with a few numbers here. If you look at Ivan Rabb, the numbers he's putting up this year are very nice, good numbers. 12.7 points a game. He's averaging 8.5 rebounds, and he's averaging 2 blocks. So he does have a 7'1" wingspan. So those are great numbers for a college freshman. That shows that he is athletic and able to get up and down the floor, which will bide him well going to the professional level. Looking at Jamal Murray once again from Kentucky, he's averaging 15.5 points a game. He's averaging 4.5 rebounds and 3.1 assists on the season so far for Kentucky. Very impressive numbers. He's actually leading Kentucky in scoring, which is very impressive as a freshman. I know his upbringing, he had a really strict upbringing where his father taught him martial arts at a young age, so he does have a strict discipline, and I believe that has helped him off the court to be a disciplined player, in which it will help him going into the professional ranks. That discipline, that upbringing from his father. Going into the top 2 picks, 2 more picks rather. May not be the top 2, but could be the top 2. We're going to talk about a player named Chris Dunn from the University of Providence. From Providence, he is a 6'4", 220-pound guard. That is great size and great strength for a point guard. He could be another Marcus Smart, a 2-way point guard. So he has the strength and he has the size to play in the NBA. He could have been a top 10 pick last year, actually. He decided to come back for another year of college. He is averaging 16.8 points a game. He's averaging 6.9 assists and 6.1 rebounds. So that is very impressive numbers for a 6'4" point guard, averaging 17, pretty much 6 and 6. Since he did go back for another year, that should help his strength and his conditioning. Once again, Chris Dunn should make a young NBA team happy. Well, not a young NBA team, but make an NBA team happy with his size and the skills that he can bring to the table. Last but not least, I mentioned him in the last Moonkast. We have a player by the name of Ben Simmons, and he's pretty much the talk of the town. In my opinion, there's no question that he should be the number 1 pick. He is a transcendent player. I believe he is a once-in-a-generation player. I do believe in tanking. I do believe that you do whatever you have to do to get a player of his caliber if you have the ability to. He is a 6'10", 240-pound, do-it-all forward. Like a Lamar Odom, talking about a Scottie Pippen, LeBron James, just the all-around forward. Andre Iguodala, small forwards that can put the ball on the floor and create and make plays. as well as play defense. Even Paul George. So he's one of those type of special players. And we will get into that in my next Mooncast, where we'll talk about the dawning of the small forward era in the NBA. We'll get into that in the next Mooncast. Once again, he's a 6'10", 240 pounds small forward, or I say do-it-all forward. He's averaging 18.1 points a game, averaging 14 rebounds. He's actually leading the country in rebounds for LSU, averaging 5.7 assists, 2.3 steals, and 1.6 blocks a game. So this is very impressive. Very impressed with Ben Simmons. His father, David Simmons, played professional ball in the Australian leagues. This is a once-in-a-generation player here. He hasn't played against great competition yet on the college level. He's played against schools like Gardner-Webb and Southern Methodist. So he hasn't played against great competition. They have lost a lot of games, but that could be because of his supporting cast. There are a couple other players on his team that are skilled as well. So the big game for people to pay attention to is going to be on January 5th, where the LSU Tigers, where they play the Kentucky Wildcats. So he will face Jamal Murray. That's going to be a big, explosive game, and it is a must-see game. So any true college basketball fan is going to want to watch this game against Ben Simmons and taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. That will be the biggest test of the season to this point. The out-of-conference schedule hasn't been that impressive. He did have a 43-point game, but as I said, the competition hasn't been as great. But you can see the brilliance and giftedness of this young man. He's a guy who could pass the ball like a Magic Johnson. Not as strong and powerful as LeBron, but he has that ability to see the floor and take it to the basket. And he also has an unselfishness to help get his teammates involved. And need to be a little bit more aggressive. So we just covered Ivan Rabb, Chris Dunn, Ben Simmons, Jalen Brown, and Jamal Murray. 5 of the top draft picks potentially in this new draft that is coming up. We had a very explosive and power-packed Mooncast today. We covered a lot of topics. I want to thank you for listening. And like I said, in the next Mooncast, we want to talk about the Scottie Pippen effect, which is an article should be coming out here pretty soon. We're also going to talk about era of the small forwards that is coming among us. We also want to talk a little bit about positionless basketball. We'll also get into the Los Angeles Clippers in this next podcast. We'll cover a few more NBA teams. And like I said, we'll probably cover the holiday games, the Christmas Day games. So we're going to cover a lot of those things coming up. Please stay tuned. And if anybody wants to reach me, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at Griffin_Gchild. So that's Griffin, GRIFFIN _Gchild. So that's GCHILD, Griffin_Gchild. So if you hit me up on Twitter, any questions, any things you'd like to ask, feel free to hit me up. Once again, this Mooncast was brought to you today by Moonbase Chronicles, the double album, classic LP. From yours truly, Griffin Gchild, release date to be announced. Please stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss out on that. Well, that is all for now for December 17th, 2015. Signing off. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Moonbase Radio.